Hello, welcome back to my channel. This is Michelle, and I'm going to share how I made this beautiful giant butterfly with you guys. So earlier I did a page where I gave one butterfly a home, which I had done off camera, and then I loved that butterfly so much and I really wanted to share it with you. So now I'm doing one on camera so you can kind of see how it was done. So I've got a template of this butterfly in my stash. It's actually a craft. It's on a craft board kind of thing. But I obviously didn't want to use a craft one, so I've traced it onto watercolor paper and cut it out, and now I'm going to give it some color. I started off with watercolor paint. You would have seen me in the beginning of the video. I tried smushing the wings together, but then, I don't know, it just didn't look good enough. So I'm just adding color. I'm trying to keep it kind of symmetrical, but I'm not too fussed about it if it's not symmetrical. This is a whimsical butterfly, so it really doesn't matter to me. And I've dried off that paint, but not bone dry. It's still, if you touch it, it's still wet, because when I do this, when I put watercolor paint onto a stamp and I stamp it onto that half dry surface, I want the colors to still run and blend into each other. So I don't want a crisp and clear stamped image, because this is just the background. Now I'm going to give it a good dry. I am drying on the front, and then you'll know if you dry the front, the papers curl up. So I normally turn it around and then I dry the back as well, and then that evens out the wings. In this case, let's call them wings, not paper, because it's wings. Now I'm just going to go in and I'm going to draw a couple of shapes. So I'm really drawing shapes. So I've got pockets to fill with my acrylic paints, if that makes sense. So I'm just creating extra little surfaces for me to add color and pattern and doodles. That's kind of what the idea is. Right at the bottom of the wing, I'm going to draw like this branch or a leafy frond. I'm not sure what to call it. Leaves. I'm just drawing leaves. And then I'm going to start adding some acrylic paints. So I'm using Marlene's paints, of course. This is lavender, and the two top sections are going to go with lavender. I am kind of sticking with the colors that I already have on the butterfly. So, excuse me. So, because I've got the purple in there, I'm adding purple over the top, and same with the pink. And I think I'll go in with azure as well. I'm not 100% sure. We'll see. Just so it's not too chaotic of a butterfly. In theory, I know I could have stenciled the stars in, but I didn't. I chose to do it this way. I think my thinking was that if I stenciled it, I wouldn't get great coverage, because obviously stenciling is quite light compared to just painting it on with a brush. And I'm going to give all those pockets a little dry to make sure that I'll be able to go in with my paint pens. And again, I'm drying at the back as well when those wings start curling up. I'm going to add some dimension to these little pockets first by doing some coloring in. So I'm starting with a darker color at the bottom, and then I work it out to a lighter color at the top there. And this just makes that pocket a little bit more interesting. And I'm doing the same with these little heart shapes as well. The heart shapes you can't see really well on camera, but you can actually see it in real life. I just did quite a rough shape for the body, and now I've just drawn in those shapes that I wanted, so more of a caterpillar kind of shape. Right at the end, I will trim out the excess, and this butterfly will have more of a caterpillar shape than those straight lines on the edges. And now I'm going to go in with a little bit of stenciling. First, I'm chopping my little blending sponge to a size that's going to be good for these tiny little stars. I didn't want to use all of the stars, so I'm being quite selective. I'm using the bigger stars. And I'm just stenciling through with the teeny tiny tip of my sponge. And I thought that was quite cute. I've learned a valuable lesson, and that is to clean my stencils. My favorite stencil is the Deco Screen stencil, and I didn't clean it. And then one day I cleaned it and I ruined it. So I had to get another one. And since then, I've been quite particular about cleaning my stencils. I don't clean them like 100%, but I do try and get most of the excess paint off. So valuable lesson learned there. If you don't clean your stencils, please clean your stencils. Take it from me. This stencil we got in the advent calendar, and I love all the teeny tiny shapes. It's quite difficult to get into the shapes and get a clear stenciling image from them. And as you can see, I used way too much paint on the right wing. So luckily I was able to quickly wipe it off, and I covered it with a little bit of acrylic paint, just blending those colors in, and then I could add the stenciling again, and that was much better. And some of it, because my sponge is so small and because I'm quite nervous of going over the other patterns, it wasn't quite clear on the edges, so I'm just drawing that back in with my black paint pen, a nice thin paint pen. And now I'm grabbing out my Posca paint pens. I was obviously looking for something specific here and I couldn't find it in that bag. I really need to try and find a better storage solution for my Posca paint pens. That was in a mesh bag, and now I've got them in like a fabric pot holder thing. But it's also not working so well for me. So if you have any suggestions as to how to store my Posca paint pens, I would love to hear from you in the comments. Let me know how you store yours, and if that works. Obviously taking up minimal space, but still keeping the tips down or horizontal so they don't dry out. Okay, now you can see me tracing in and coloring in that leafy frond. I chose to do it with black because I really love the shape in black. For some reason, I don't know why, I'm always drawn to that shape in black, or kind of any leafy bits. I do enjoy that. I think it's maybe the contrast. And then those scallopy bits that I stenciled in, I'm just extending it out right to the edge and just fixing up some of the bits where it didn't stencil quite nicely. And you can see how that just makes such a huge difference. I'm going to outline my stars. I'm doing it very scribbly, and I'm going around my stars twice. So what this does is, if I make a mistake, you won't notice it so much because there are two lines. It's wonky and scribbly on purpose. If I had to try and trace around them and be perfect, I can bet you that I would mess it up and it wouldn't look good. So rather make it scribbly and messy on purpose. I've added some shading with my coloring in pencil on the body, and I'm just going to outline all of that with black, adding a little bit of a highlight here and there. And my gosh, adding a white highlight really, really brings things to life. You'll see now these scallops compared to the scallops on the other side, just how much more lively and vibrant they look than before. And even those hearts and stars, just adding a tiny white line really, really helps to pull them together. I'm also outlining the leafy frond, but I'm not going on the edges. So I'm kind of bringing my pen like a millimeter into those leaves. So it kind of still has a black border. I really like the effect that looks like. And yes, I wanted to add just a little extra something that could be a little bit unexpected. And I decided to do one of these card deck shapes. I can't remember if I did the spade or what I used. I didn't want to use the heart because I'd already had a heart. I think that's called a spade. Can you tell I don't play poker? Let's call it a spade for today. So I quickly stenciled that in with some royal paint, and now I'm going with the Artist Diary stamp set, and she has these tiny little card symbols. It's a diamond and a clover. Is that what you call it? You are welcome to correct me in the comments. I wanted to emboss that, but when I put the embossing ink down, it just didn't work. I think it's because it's watercolor paper. It's not a smooth paper, so that ink didn't stick. So I decided to take out some turquoise blue ink, and I'm just going to stamp around that spade, if that's what it's called. And I'm just doing random stamping here and there, just filling up the space. And I think we are getting to the end of this butterfly. Yes, a little bit more white outlining. And then I'm going to go around the wings. First, I thought I would use a gelato. And then I thought, no, I'm going to use a sponge, a blending sponge. And I'm just going to go around the wings with the royal color. I know that when I put it on a page, I'll do a black border around it and I'll do some shading and whatnot. So it will all work out in the end. Quickly trimming out that body to give it some shape. And then that's about it. I am going to have this butterfly up on my Instagram page in my stories by the, it's called, I think it's the featured stories, or anyway, if you go into my Instagram page, you will see that there are those little circles, and one of them is art prints, and I'm going to have this butterfly there for you. You can go and do a screen grab of it and print it out and use it in your own journals. If you do, I would love to see your work, so you can hop over to the community section here on YouTube, and you can post your creation over there. Let me know on Insta and here on YouTube if you've gotten your print, and I will chat to you again very soon, finishing off this page by adding some sparkly bits, and I'm just going to let you watch while I finish and chat to you soon. Okay, bye.